Hi Swans and Cygnets. I thought I'd read you a story today because I'm missing our story times, and I'm going to tell you a little story about this story before I start reading it, because this is a very special book to me. And it's a special book because before I was a teacher at Silverdale, I had to go to university, and university is a bit like school for grown-ups, and at this university I was learning how to be a teacher. And I was very, very lucky because when I was at university, I got to go on a trip, a bit like a school trip, but a university trip. And we went all the way to South Africa, and that's a very long way. And when we got to South Africa, the part of South Africa we were in was very, very poor. The children didn't have nice houses, they didn't have nice toys, they didn't have a lovely school to go to. And it was very, very different to Silverdale. Now, the children did go to a school, but it didn't look like our school. It was a building that was all broken down, and there was no windows, there was no tables, there was no toys, there was no paper, there was no pens. And the teachers, they hadn't been to university like I was, so they didn't really know what to do with the children either. So when we went there, we took them lots of things, like we took them pens and paper and Play-Doh, all sorts of things. But also the main reason we were there was to help the teachers, to teach them how to be teachers and how to look after the children. Now, this building was huge and it had nothing in it. And me and my friend one day were just having a walk around this big school, and we found a box. And we opened the box, and inside were about 100 of these books, all the same, this storybook. And we went to one of the teachers and we said, "Where did this box of books come from?" And she said, "Oh, somebody gave it to us once, but we can't use them because the children don't understand it, because the children didn't speak English, and we don't need 100 books." So she said, "Why don't you all take one home with you?" So that's where this book came from, and it reminds me of that special time in South Africa, so I'm going to share it with you today. So this book's called All by Myself. Every morning, Maya and her mother had breakfast together. First, they would nibble on some sweet green grass. Then Maya's mother would reach her long trunk high into the branches of a tall tree and pick the juiciest leaves for them to eat together. But one morning, Maya decided that things were going to be different. As usual, they had breakfast together, and as usual, they nibbled at the sweet green grass. But just as her mother was about to reach up and pick some juicy green leaves, Maya said, "No! I want to do it." "But you're just a little elephant," said her mother. "I want to do it," said Maya, "all by myself." "Very well," said her mother. Maya sat and looked at the tree. It was very tall. The leaves seemed very far away, and she was just a little elephant. Then she thought for a bit. "I know what to do," she said. She searched around until she found a long, thin stick. She picked it up, marched over to the tree, and stretching up as high as she could, she swished at the branches above to try and knock the leaves down. She is trying to reach, but it was no good. The leaves didn't fall. A lazy old lion who was snoozing nearby came to see what all the swishing was for. "If you like," he yawned, "I could climb up the tree and pick you some leaves with my claws. You know, it's no trouble at all." "No, thank you," said Maya politely. "I want to do it all by myself." Maya sat down and thought a little harder. Then she had another, even better idea. She ran down to the muddy brown waterhole. There she stretched out her trunk and sucked up as much water as she could, which was quite a lot for such a little elephant. Look at her face there, full of water. When her trunk was full, she bounced back to the tree, paused, pointed her trunk, and blew. Whoosh! The water swooshed into the tree, soaking everyone around. The branches splashed and dripped, but it was no good. The leaves still didn't fall. A bird who'd been sunbathing at the top of the tree and was now very wet came down to see what all the splashing was about. "What do you think you're doing?" she squawked, flapping the water off her wings. Maya explained it all very carefully. "Is that it?" grumbled the bird. "I'll fly to the top of the tree and pick you some leaves with all my wings, you know. It's no trouble at all." No, thank you, said Maya. I want to do it all by myself. Please yourself, said the bird. Maya looked up at the tree and thought very hard indeed. I've got it, she said finally. Then she stepped back 3 paces, took a deep breath and charged at the tree, pushing it as hard as she could. But it was no good. The tree didn't move and the leaves still didn't fall. Oh, my head hurts, Maya said sadly. I'm not surprised her head hurts. Look at that. Would hurt, wouldn't it, if you boffed it into a tree like that? Maya sat down at the bottom of the tall tree. Suddenly a snake appeared from underneath a rock. If you like, he hissed, I can slither up and pick you some juicy green leaves. For me, you know, it's no trouble at all. Maya shivered. No, thank you, she whispered. I want to do it all by myself. But this time Maya had no ideas. It was such a tall tree and she was only a little elephant. Then a voice she knew very well said gently, I have an idea. And with that, her mother carefully slipped her long tusks under Maya and curling her trunk around, lifted her high into the branches of the tall tree. Maya stretched out her trunk and picked all the juiciest and greenest leaves she could. She was a very happy elephant. Afterwards, Maya and her mother looked at their delicious breakfast. You did it, said her mother. Maya thought for a moment. No, she said slowly. We did it together. And together they strolled off across the plains as the sun rose high in the sky. And I like that story. I hope you like that story too. It makes me think about all the times where it's good to do things by yourself. Sometimes, isn't it? It's good. We talk a lot about in school about being independent, but sometimes you do need a little bit of help, and that's okay because teamwork is also brilliant. So it's okay to ask for a little bit of help sometimes if you need it, isn't it? And as you get older, you'll learn that there's more things you can do by yourself. Just like when Maya gets bigger, she'll be able to reach the leaves herself, won't she? So I hope you enjoyed that story, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!